Hey guys, welcome to another Thyalwaysseek live stream where we are continuing to decode the Gospel of Thomas because, as we know, the Nag Hammadi Gospels have not been bastardized by the Christian Church as it stands today, i.e. the Catholic Church. And so these are the scriptures that we can rely on because we know that they're actually authentic and they haven't been edited as the Christian Bible has been edited over the last 1700 years. I find it really interesting that when I'm debating with these modern Christians, and they're really not Christians in any sense of the word. I mean, the word Christian literally means to be Christ-like. None of these people exhibit any Christ-like behavior. I shouldn't say none because there's probably about 1% of them that actually exhibit Christ-like behavior as Jesus was shown to help others and literally just didn't walk around praising himself and worshipping himself, which is all really modern Christians do. And when you actually give these modern Christians information outside of their Bible, they will tell you, well, that is not approved scripture. That is not canonical scripture. I cannot actually accept that. That is heresy. And, you know, they seem to be completely oblivious to the fact that Jesus had no say in what books went into their Bible. In fact, there was no Holy Spirit working upon them when they decided to choose what books went into the Bible. It was literally the Roman emperor, who wasn't even Christian, which was Constantine, Emperor Constantine, and the Catholic Church, who were pushing the other Christian leaders at the time to decide on what books. So they voted what books would go into the Bible, but anybody that didn't agree with the interpretation was pretty much, threatened with death if they didn't conform. So the actual organization, the actual group of men who are responsible for what goes into their Bible and for interpreting the scriptures that are in their Bible are the same men who were burning people at the stake 600 years ago simply because they didn't want to accept the Catholic narrative. They didn't want to accept the Catholic interpretation. They were burning, slaughtering, and torturing nearly 1 million of these people, which were the Gnostic Christians. So the Gnostic Christians were actually the last real Christians that we have record of. And they were slaughtered by the hundreds of thousands by the Catholic Church because they would not accept the interpretation, the canon, the Catholic canon for the Bible that we now have today, that the so-called followers of Christ will actually only accept. They won't accept any of the other scriptures. They will only accept the scriptures that the Catholic Church have approved for them. And then they somehow don't think they're being led astray by wolves in sheep's clothing. I don't understand it myself. It really just comes from a place of cowardice, okay, because they're taking the easy path where they just rock up to a church every Sunday and listen to a Pharisee tell them what to believe. They don't actually take their minds and their souls into their own hands and go and seek out knowledge for themselves, just as Jesus actually instructed them to in the book of Matthew. So interesting how they pick and choose, when they want to follow these scriptures and when they don't as well. That's really, also quite amusing when you see how much of Christ's teachings they actually ignore, because they think that Christ just cares that they walk around praising and worshiping him, that's going to get them into his good books. That's what they believe, because, as I said, they're lacking in character. They're lacking in any real backbone. And so they want to desperately believe that they can just take the easy path, and that is going to bring them eternal life with their buddy, Jesus, because they think that Jesus is literally called Jesus and was a man walking around. Like, they actually take their Bible literally. Okay. The Pharisees that they listen to and the religious scholars that they listen to tell them to take the Bible stories literally, even though Jesus himself says don't take the Bible stories, the parables, literally. He tells them this, and they ignore him in favor of their priests, because they're simpletons. They're unable to actually engage in any independent thought. All they can do is parrot and regurgitate what their clergy tell them. And so they've been led down the wide path to destruction, because they really don't have any courage. And really, the veil would be lifted for them, and they would not be ignorant if they were found worthy of this knowledge in the first place. So the fact that they don't understand the encoded truths beneath the parables and stories in the Bible is just really confirmation that they're not worthy of the knowledge that's in the Bible in the first place. All right, so after that little bit of an introduction there, let's get back into decoding the rest of the Gospel of Thomas. We're almost at the end, guys. I really do think that if we don't get through it in this live stream, we'll definitely only have one more live stream after this. So let's begin where we left off last time, and that was at number 77. If anybody wants to follow along with actually reading the verses as I'm also reading them out, there are links underneath the video in the description, and you can click on those links and go and find the Gospel of Thomas and read along with me. So let's begin at number 77. We have, Jesus said, I am the light that is over all things. I am all. From me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up a stone, and you will find me there. Now, this is literally telling us that the Christ is the divine spirit that works through creation. So this is why Jesus is called Jesus the Christ. People assume that that's his name, Jesus Christ, like his surname was Christ, and his first name was Jesus. As I've said in many of the other videos I've done in regards to decoding the Gospel of Thomas, and in fact decoding the other mythologies and information and knowledge that was left to us, Jesus is just a character in a story representing the firstborn divine Son of God, okay, of the Creator. So Jesus is just representing the firstborn Son, the firstborn divine male, created in human form on the physical plane. There are other Christed. There are, in fact, 288 Christed, and Jesus is just symbolizing the firstborn and also the firstborn demigod. Now, if you want to look into more information about the Christed and the 288 divine souls within humanity, I've got plenty of other information in the other decoding videos that I've done of the Gospel of Thomas, but as well as the Sacred Sciences of the Soul. That is a really good series that I've tried to put everything very explain it in layman's terms so that you can understand it, put forward in quite a easy to understand explanation. That's what I've tried to do, and that was my intention behind the series. So have a look at the video, What is the Christ? And that will actually give you a little bit more in-depth understanding of what Jesus represents. So Jesus isn't a real person. There was never a Jesus. Okay, this is why he was never in the OT. Okay, the Old Testament. This is why he's a relatively new figure that appears, and this is because throughout the ages, the firstborn divine Son of God was called many different names, and depending on the culture, he was named, many different names. I have given a lot of examples, but just here I will give a few examples of, Thor from the Norse mythology. He's a very well-known god, and this is why the gods are little g. And, if we want to think that the Norse and the Hindu and all of these, the Greeks and the ancient Romans and the ancient Egyptians were polytheist, then that means Christianity is polytheist too. Because they now call Jesus God, right? But then there's also God the Father. So now there's two gods. So that's polytheism. So see how they're so hypocritical because they can't understand their own scriptures. There is only one creator, one prime creator, God the Father, who is androgynous, and I say this repeatedly, that I just prefer to see God in the male form. I like to identify with God as being a fatherly figure, but it doesn't matter if you want to identify with the creator being in the female, because the creator is androgynous. However, when we are all created from the creator, all souls, and it does happen in different degrees, are born whole, are created whole, I should say, and then birthed into their physical body in separate male and female souls. Okay, so souls do have gender, and Hermetics teaches us that souls have gender anyway. So I know that's a bit of a, very dicey topic in these times, when it is the intent of the Antichrist to confuse humanity about gender and basically lump us all into one big, just one big nothingness that doesn't have any identity is really what they want to do. So God's with a little g. Firstborn divine Son always is represented very strongly in all of the mythologies and the scriptures, and so he goes by other names. He goes by the name of Shiva. He goes by the name of Horus. He goes by the name of I'm just trying to think of all of the different mythologies. It's hard to do on the spot, but he goes by many different names. Apollo, Dionysus, Mars. There's many different symbols that represent the firstborn divine Son of God. And I'm sure if you think about it, you probably will be able to name a lot more, because there's many. Because every single culture is telling us the same story. It's just expressed differently based on our own influential way that we express things, so it's based on how each culture expresses divine knowledge in how they relay that knowledge. And it's also been fragmented on purpose, because it's a way to occult the knowledge. If every culture told the same story exactly, then it wouldn't really be occulted, would it? I mean, anybody would be able to understand what the knowledge was, and that's not how it works. Only the worthy are able to understand the knowledge, and that is why it is occulted, because not everybody is worthy of this information. And if people knew the truth, well, then they wouldn't, act out in their vices as they do. They would, bring themselves back into alignment with universal law, whereas the Creator wants to see each soul and their worthiness based on how they act, regardless of whether they have access to this information. Because, you know, there would be souls out there that are just really kind and helping people without even having this knowledge, because that is just inherently who they are. And so they contribute to creation, which is what it's really all about. It's about the universe, the universal design, wanting to continue to flourish in its most excellent form, you know, in its best possible version. And so it needs to ensure that the souls that are created on the physical plane and that are an extension of the Creator in the flesh are actually engaged in behavior that enables creation to continue to flourish, not destroy creation. So when we move out of divine law and we transgress divine law, it's not that we're doing something naughty and God's in the clouds and he's like, well, that guy just did something really naughty there, he's going on the bad list. It's not to do with that. It's to do with the laws are already set in stone that work to improve and to continue for God to flourish, because everything is God, as this verse 77 says to us. You know, everything around us is God. It's all created of God. It's just in different vibrational forms. So the gross matter is things like rocks, you know, and very dense materials. It's because the vibration is a lot different than something vibrating more highly, which is like our soul, and things that aren't definable for you know, by our senses, from our material senses. But we know they exist beyond the material. So, you know, we know that there are forces that exist beyond the material, because we know that electricity, magnetism, you know, even the way that the planets orbit the sun, I mean, they're on their courses because there is some force holding them to that course, and they're all orbiting the sun at exactly the correct mathematical timing to ensure that everything is moving in unison and you know, in the right time. So these are the things that are beyond our senses that we need to contemplate on more deeply, but we know that they are there. And that, as I'm saying, is just the way that the mental universe vibrates at a different level and creates at a different level, at a higher degree, because everything in the universe is hierarchy, from the highest to the lowest, the highest being, you know, the spiritual, and the lowest being matter in its most grossest form, meaning its most dense manifestation. So God is in everything, and that is what this verse is telling you. The Christ is within us, so we all contain a portion of divinity. The Christ is within the rock. The Christ is within the tree, in the piece of wood. You know, as Jesus says, lift up a stone and you will find me there. And that is because the Christ within him is within everything. He just holds the Christ within him to the highest degree, because he is the firstborn extension of the Creator, and then everything else extends from the firstborn Son, and then goes down in hierarchy from there in the form of different degrees of divinity. So the firstborn of the divine race would be the highest amount of divinity, because they have their own levels as well. It goes gold, silver and bronze. So there's the gold race, part of the divine race. They are the closest, they are the most powerful of the divine. Then it goes silver, and then it goes bronze, and the bronze are the demigods, which is what little baby Jesus represents. When we see little baby Jesus and little baby Krishna in the Hindu mythology, and little baby Horus and Eros, that is representing the firstborn demigod, okay, which is, he is created from God directly, but he is birthed into the physical form on the material plane through his mother giving birth on the material plane. So the gold and silver gods are created from God the Father, or from the all, soul and physical. But the bronze, the demigod, his soul is created directly from God, but his physical form is birthed through his mother on the material plane. This is what makes him the link between the gods and mortal man, which is why he is also a very, very important symbol, because he is the link. He is the link between mortal man and divine man. So there you go. That is what the Christ really means. It's just the divine portion within us, and it just is in different degrees. And mortal man has it in a lesser degree than divine man. And mortal man, the divine operation within him is a degree different to the divine souls. And I have gone into that a lot in my previous decoding of the Gospel of Thomas. So if you want to check that out, it'd be a really good idea to start from the beginning, and because I do tend to repeat myself because I know a lot of people find my videos, down the track. They see the live stream and listen in, but they don't actually understand that, a lot of this information has been discussed previously. So I do like to kind of repeat it for the benefit of those people, but if you want a more in-depth understanding, really it's up to you. I mean, you might just think I'm speaking shit, a lot of people probably do. Okay, that's okay too. All right, I'm not forcing anyone to believe me. All I'm saying is that if you find this interesting, if there's something within you that feels that this is right, that what you're hearing, it's just like touching a nerve in a way that, you just get this kind of something within, it just aligns with you, then I would suggest go and look out, go and seek out more knowledge, go and seek out more information in regards to this, because, the people that are in control of our world today do not want you to know about your divine nature. They do not want you to know who the Christ really is, because they want you worshipping some poster boy that doesn't even exist, who apparently is perfect, even though he himself says, why do you call me good? There is no one else is good but God alone. God alone is the only, his God, the creator. It's interesting how Christians pick and, cherry pick. It's because they listen to the Pharisees. It's because they listen to the religious scholars, and they don't actually listen to Christ anymore. They've literally turned their back on the teachings of Christ because they like what the priests are telling them instead. A lot of what Jesus says requires them to do and to engage in effort and sacrifice. Like, there is a parable of the Good Samaritan that Jesus is literally telling you that the person that goes out and helps, the priest walks past the person that needs help. The rich man, walks past the person that needs help, doesn't do anything. The priest didn't do anything. The Good Samaritan, though, he goes and helps him, even though he doesn't really have very much. He, out of the kindness of his heart, goes and helps them and, looks after him, gives him shelter, gives him food, and helps the person in need. And Jesus says, I'm telling you this story for a reason, and they all ignore it. It's so interesting because, as I'm saying before, they just think they can walk around saying that they love Jesus and that's the works. I mean, they literally tell me that that's what the works is. It's just loving Jesus and it changes you inside. It works within you. That's what somebody told me that the works mean. And they believe it. They do believe it, all of these Christians, that they don't. It's just, grace. That's how I'm going to be saved. I don't need to actually do anything. Hey, I can even sin because Jesus even died for our sins. So, hey, we can just do whatever we want now. I mean, I've had them tell me that too. All right, let's move on. 78, Jesus said, "Why have you come out to the countryside to see a reed shaken by the wind and to see a person dressed in soft clothes like your rulers and your powerful ones? They are dressed in soft clothes and they cannot understand the truth." So this is basically telling us that appearances are deceiving. Okay, so this is talking about the people that come out to see Jesus, right? They heard about this man, and he's helping all these people and he's doing all these miraculous things. So they're, going out to go and find who this person is, and they're expecting him to be of great stature, like he's somebody important. He's going to appear like somebody very important in well-dressed clothes. But he's just a man. Okay, this is obviously before the illumination. Okay, because he will look very different to a mortal man when he is illuminated. Nobody will be, needing to be told, oh, that guy over there is the firstborn son of God. I mean, you're going to know it in no uncertain, form. I mean, he is going to literally be illuminated and look and appear different. So we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Now we're being tested. Now we're being tested. And so he said to us, don't go listen to the priests. Don't go listen to the religious scholars. Don't go listen to the Pharisees. I hate them. They're vipers. They don't speak for me. Go out and engage in good works. Go help people that need to be helped. Emulate me, imitate me, and you won't go wrong then if you do it that way. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be answered. But people aren't doing that because they've got no courage. They've got no spine. People just want to rock up to a church, see someone impressive in soft clothes, in nice clothes. I mean, that's literally when they're saying soft clothes, they're meaning nice linens. Look at what the priests wear, especially the Catholic Church, and the Orthodox Church. Look at how their popes dress up and their clergy dress up in all of these really fancy robes. Okay, this is exactly what Jesus warned about. Did he ever dress up in fancy robes? Is there any indication that he was walking around worshipping and praising himself wearing fancy clothes? No, he was very humble. He just blended in. It was his actions that set him apart. Okay, that's what this parable is telling us. His actions is what set him apart from the rest, not his appearances. You will know them by their fruits. Look at the clergy. Look at how they are dressed in their finery. Look at how they have, golden goblets. Look at how they are so well housed. They drive nice cars. Most of the people that are in the congregation, go and look at the car park out the front of a church in some middle, class neighborhood in America. And you tell me, are these people humble? Are they minimalists that just basically require the most minimum amount of materialism? No. They're all trying to outdo each other. They're all trying to impress each other. And we are right now in a time where appearances are very deceiving. We know this even through social media has brought this to our attention more than ever, when you see time and time again these influencers get outed and everyone thinks they live in these beautiful mansions and they're on these planes, and it's just all props, okay? Because people are so caught up in appearances. I've even seen the dude that plays Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, that he's been doing interviews lately. And you should see the comment section of these videos of all of these Christians. The dude literally got paid money. He profited off pretending to be Jesus. Okay. And here are these Christians all just fawning over him and saying how awesome he is. So caught up in appearances, so deceived by these words these silver tongues are telling them. They're lost. They really are lost. They're all on the wide path to destruction, and there's nothing you can do that can help them, unfortunately, because they really do want to just continue on this path. A woman in the crowd, this is 79, a woman in the crowd said to him, "Lucky are the womb that bore you and the breasts that fed you." He said to her, "Lucky are those who have heard the word of the Father and have truly kept it. For there will be days when you will say, 'Lucky are the womb that has not conceived and the breasts that have not given milk.'" Now, we are actually starting to see a decline in the birth rate, thankfully, because it breaks my heart how the children are being so corrupted right now. And I just really don't understand that anybody who understands this knowledge and understands the times that we live in and how corrupted they are and how the evil is literally coming for the children now, how you would decide to have a child. I mean, you are literally bringing children into hell. It's lovely to have a child, yes, and it's lovely to be an aunt or a grandmother, but really the most selfless thing anybody can do right now is not bring any more innocent souls into this hellhole. So, I mean, that's really what that means. There are dark days ahead, and the less innocent souls that we are going to drag to hell with us, the better. Because we've just hit pause at the moment. Okay, everyone's been lulled into this false sense of security because, all of that shit that they played a few years ago, well, that's all behind us, That's never going to happen again, is it? I mean, that's all. So let me know at what time did the evil that just played out all that shit on humanity a couple of years ago, where they just went away. They just decided to leave, because as far as I know, they're all still in power. Okay. They're all still in power, and even if they've handed it over to somebody else, we know that they're just two sides of the same coin anyway, because anybody in high-level politics is part of the script, and they're just playing their characters. This guy's against this guy because he's a liberal, he's a Democrat, and he's a Republican. At the most highest level in politics, they're all the same. Okay, they're just playing a part. They're very good actors. Of course, they'd have to be very good actors, or we wouldn't be convinced, would we? So it just takes you to be smarter than they are, because at the moment they're mocking humanity. They absolutely know what is coming, and they are mocking us. Okay, so yeah, that is what that means. It's going to get very dark, guys. So now is the time to prepare. I mean, this is the reason that I'm doing this decoding of the Gospel of Thomas. I mean, in any other time, this type of knowledge would not be given and decoded in the way it is. You would have to work out what these sayings meant for yourself. But because we're so close now to, such evil being played out on humanity, and it's really the children who are going to be the victims, my wish is for adults to hear this knowledge, to go seek out more information until it becomes knowledge and wisdom to them, and then work to protect their children. I mean, that is really the motivation behind me doing this, is so that if it actually protects, even 5 children, if I've helped 5 children because I've helped, 5 adults understand that they have to prepare for what's coming and they have to protect their children because evil is coming for their children, then to me it's been worth all the hate I've received over the last 12 years. All right, let's keep going. 80. Jesus said, "Whoever has come to know the world has discovered the body, and whoever has discovered the body of that one, the world is not worthy." So whoever has come to know the world knows it's just a it's just a carcass. It's not real in the way that your soul is real. Okay. It's just the material extension of the divine, the material extension of the spiritual. And everything is transitory. Okay. Everything changes. But your soul, that does not change like the physical, because your soul basically incarnates into different garments throughout the great year. Your soul is who you are. It's the physical world that is the carcass, that you are in death when you are in physical form. That is why sometimes it's called being in death, you know. The material is equated to death, whereas the soul is equated to life. And so that's what that means, is that when you have discovered the truth, you see the world for what it is. This is why the Bible says, be in the world, but not of the world. Okay, we have to live in this world right now, especially in its most corrupted form. And we do have to go and work. I call it slavery. I mean, really, all we're doing is just, you know, ensuring we can exist on the material plane in the system that they've created. It's an enslavement. They have enslaved us, okay, through materialism and using money, okay, which isn't even real. It's just paper. There is no intrinsic value in money in its current form. It used to be backed by gold. It's not even backed by gold anymore. It's just paper. So it's just that we've been convinced, brainwashed, to think that these little bits of paper have value, but they don't have any value. Okay. And the world has no value for you. So it always amuses me when Christians who claim to be followers of Christ are very materialistic, and they pass this materialistic view of the world onto their children, because they send their children to university, to college. And why do they send their children to college? To get a good job. Why do their children have to have a good job? So they can buy a big house. And when they have a big house, they have a nice car, you know. So that's all materialism. So that is literally being of the world. It's not living, you know, in the world and just having to do your part just so you can survive. I mean, and that's really all we should be doing. So, you know, it's not to say that you don't find pride in the work that you do, but you just have to ensure that it doesn't become who you are. I mean, how many times do you meet somebody and the second thing you say to them after you introduce your name is, what do you do? Okay, it's like ingrained in our psyche that what we do for a living is who we are. And it's not. You know, I have met people of such great character that do the most menial jobs, you know, but they have such a great, you know, kind soul. And then I've met people that, you know, are in very wealthy. They own businesses. They are in high positions of society, and they have terrible characters. So we have to understand that the world is not who we are. See the world for what it is. And when you understand what the world is not worthy of you, because you are actually contributing to creation now. You are walking beside the Christ. You know, you are contributing to creation, to the Creator's experience in a positive way, in a beneficial way. And that's what's most important. Okay, 81. Jesus said, let one who has become wealthy reign, and let one who has power renounce it. So it's literally just saying that wealth and power it's not important. It's of the world once again. Okay, so it's like they're being given enough rope to hang themselves. Okay, and those who have power would be best to just renounce that power and be humble and humble themselves and simplify their lives and remember what is more important. And in these times, if you are someone who is powerful, then you've got there probably through deceit, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it's the psychopaths that are rewarded in this system that we currently have, this very evil system. It's the psychopaths that get rewarded. So if you are in a position of power, then you've enacted, or you have acted in ways that are not conducive to being a kind-hearted and good person. Okay. Jesus said, number 82, Jesus said, whoever is near me is near the fire, and whoever is far from me is far from the Father's kingdom. So whoever is near me is near the fire. And you see a lot of the time Jesus is symbolized holding the flaming heart. So this is just symbolizing that if you are near Jesus, you're working through that place of the heart, really, and you are aligning the heart and the mind. It's no good just to walk around being a loving person and being all heart, because that is not beneficial to anybody. You need to align your heart with your mind, okay? And they need to work in unison. So you can't just be too intellectual, because that makes you cold, okay? That makes you too logical, it makes you cold, and you lack empathy and compassion. You can't work just through your heart, because then that makes you too soft. You're easily taken advantage of, and you can be led astray by the heart as well. So you have to work with the heart and the mind. But when you're relating this to the Christ is normally shown as within the heart, because this is literally where your soul is located. So your third eye is seated in your soul. It is called your Ba in the ancient Egyptian knowledge, the Anja chakra in the Hindu texts, and it's literally just the consciousness, your personality, your ego, who you are, your essence of you, what makes you you, seated into the soul, and that is like your vehicle that is governed by your consciousness, your third eye, your mind, your ego, your who you are. Ego is not a dirty word, okay? Ego is something that we all need, because it creates who we are as a character, okay? So this whole new age slant on ego is just to basically turn people into unthinking drones, okay, that can't have an opinion because, oh, that's your ego. Can't disagree with anybody. Oh, you're in your ego. Total bullshit. It's just a way to disempower people. The New Age movement was basically just another way that the Antichrist could corral people and push them down another wide path, because not everyone was going to go the wide path of religion. Okay, so they needed to make another path for those who were interested in spirituality but not organized religion. And so they created the organized religion of the New Age movement. So be very careful of the New Age movement. It is full of pitfalls. It is basically just another trap for the soul. So your fire, your heart is basically where your Christ is, And when you acknowledge the Christ within you, you make better decisions, okay, because your heart and mind are working together now. You understand the Christ within, you are near to the Christ, and so you're literally grasping and holding onto that flaming heart, just like Jesus is in the iconography, where you see him holding that flaming heart. And so those who have identified the Christ within are near to the Father's kingdom. Okay, if you're ignorant to the divinity within you, to the Christ within you, then you are very far from the Father's kingdom. And this is literally 98% of modern Christians, because I can't tell you how many people that claim to be Christians have told me that it's heresy for me to say that the Christ is within, even though their Bible literally says that the Christ is within. They have basically accused me of twisting the verses. It's literally in the Bible. It says that the Christ is within you. There's no, you can't twist it, because it's there in black and white that the Christ is within, and that is why Jesus is the Christ. And we all have fragments of the Christ within us too. And as I said previously, he just holds it to the highest degree of anybody, in humanity. Right, moving right along. 83, Jesus said, images are visible to people, but the light within them is hidden in the image of the Father's light. He will be disclosed, but his image is hidden by his light. So, basically this is just divinity is hidden until the appointed time. Okay. Christ's divinity is hidden until the appointed time. And then all will know. All will know the different degrees of divinity. All will know who the divine souls are among humanity and who the mortals are. And there will be a time where the veil between the two planes, the ethereal plane and the physical plane, thins to the point where we will see each other in our true form. And it warns that that's not going to be a pretty sight, because even though on the outside some people might be physically attractive, on the inside they are horrific. They are beasts, beastly creatures that have no light within them. And so they will reflect that at the appointed time. 84. Jesus said, when you see your likeness, you are happy, but when you see your images that came into being before you and that neither die nor become visible, how much you will have to bear. Well, that's pretty much just playing into what I just said. That's kind of adding on to what I was just saying, that your soul will be the reflection of your character. And when the veil falls between the ethereal and the physical, because we're moving to that time in the cycle, okay, there's various different forms, different words, I should say. The apocalypse, is one word. Even the Mexicans have a day where they mark this. It's called the Day of the Dead. The Celtic mythology, they call it Samhain. Halloween has basically replaced a lot of the symbolism that was surrounding that time, that represented the part of the cycle where the two worlds, the ethereal plane and the physical plane, so the two different planes merge. It's like we're already merged. We just can't see the ethereal plane because we are existing in a very gross state of materialism, gross form of matter. But as the tide of ether is moving back into the physical world, the material plane, it's thinning the material plane. It's thinning it's shifting. And so there will be a time before we move into the next great year that the veil between the planes will fall, and we will see everything for what it truly is. Even in the book of Matthew, it says that, nothing will be hidden that won't be disclosed. That's what that relates to. Buddhism even says the same thing, that there are three things not long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. It's the same symbolism surrounding this time between this time when the veil between the two planes thins, and we know truth. We know who we are. We know who the divine are. We know that the creator exists. We know that there is a spiritual element to us. And for a lot of people, it is going to be far too late when they have that realization. And as I said, right now we're at the part of the cycle where we're being given enough rope to hang ourselves. So it's like, sure, go out and do whatever you want. You have free will, but there's going to be repercussions. Well, of course, nobody believes that right now, because we're still in that time of the cycle where everything's very material and there is no actual evidence of anything beyond the material right now. So unless you go and investigate, like what I have been doing for the last 12 years, and you go and engage in the same type of seeking out of knowledge and the same type of investigating and trying to understand your own divine nature and your place within the universal design and the universal scheme of everything, then you will know it to some degree. But it's only at that one time in the cycle. And of course, as we move into the golden age, the presence of the creator is very evident on the physical plane. It's very ethereal. This is why it's the golden age, because it's an enlightened time of the cycle. Right now, we're in the darkest time of the cycle. Probably as dark as when we first entered into this cycle, but there was little recourse for evil, and so they could literally get away with burning people at the stake and torturing people and literally going into villages and hacking people to death. This is what the Catholic Church were doing about 700 years ago, 800 years ago. All right, that's only 8 generations, guys. It's not a long time. It sounds like a long time when you say 8, but just think, that's not really a long time. And they were out there behaving like this. And these are the people that now have full control over the Bible and full control over the interpretation of the scriptures, and who every single globalist leader goes to kiss the ring of the Jesuit Pope. And people seem to think that, it's just a figurehead. Catholic Church has no power. Why do they all go over there then? Why do they all make the trip? They've all done it. Every single US president, all goes over. No matter if they're Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. They go over and kiss his ring, literally. So, they just moved behind the scenes. Instead of being out the front and enacting evil, they just shifted and moved behind the curtain, and now they're the hidden hand, that's controlling everything. So these truths will be known, but right now, as I said, unless you go out and actively seek out this knowledge, to the level that you'll need to understand it so that it becomes knowledge to you and becomes wisdom and you know it beyond any doubt, then, it's very difficult to fully grasp the importance of all of this information and what that means to your soul and what that means to your fate because really this is where we're moving towards, okay? And as I said, they've just hit pause at the moment, so don't be lulled into any false sense of security, because the next part of the script is going to be even uglier and even more evil and corrupt than the last part of the script that they just played out on us. And look what they did to about, what is it, 80% of the world's population. They forced them to be injected with an experimental vaccine that they called a vaccine, and we know it wasn't. And we know that it's now starting to make news, mainstream news, in regards to all of the issues surrounding what they did. So just think about that, guys. The people that enacted that upon humanity are still in power. Okay, they're still there. Even if some of them retired, the majority, the large majority, 95% of them are all still in power. Okay. Okay, where am I up to? 85. Jesus said, Adam came from great power and great wealth, but he was not worthy of you. For had he been worthy, he would not have tasted death. So it's just really talking about how Adam fell. I mean, Adam is a parable. It's not a real man called Adam. It's just literally telling you that when the divine were first created on the material plane, the very first time, very, very first time, they were innocent like children. And it was only when they started to seek out knowledge and understanding for themselves that they were able to engage in vice and to sin, gather weight in their heart, because that is what sin is. Sin is gathering weight in your soul, so that when you are weighed and measured, okay, you will either sink like a stone down to into the abyss, when that is at the very end of the cycle, and after last judgment, because that will determine whether you go into the next great year, and there's only going to be a certain amount of mortal souls, a certain weight of mortal souls that move through into the next great year with the divine souls. But that's literally just telling you what happened, that if you fall, then you're not worthy of. When Adam fell into vice, okay, and this is also, they forget who they are. So the divine souls, as they move down the great year and they move into the lower ages, which are more material, and the portion within them fades, okay, they forget who they are too, okay, and they act out in vice. All right, so if you're actually somebody that is a virtuous person, then the divine souls are not worthy of you, because, I mean, really, they should be setting an example, because they are our leaders, they are our guides, they are the peacekeepers, they are the kings, they are the messiahs, they are the leaders, and they are meant to be the most virtuous among mankind, and they are in the golden age, they are in the higher ages when they understand who they are and their responsibilities. But that is what that is saying. When they fall, that even if you are mortal and you are engaging in virtuous activity and behavior, then not even the divine souls are worthy of you, because it's actually even more virtuous for a mortal soul to behave in a godly way, in a holy way, than it is for a divine soul who is immortal. And it doesn't even matter whether they are virtuous or whether they indulge in vice. And this is why the Antichrists hate them so much, because they just don't think it's fair that the divine souls get to act out exactly how they want, and they get to transgress divine law and they get to, you know, indulge in their vices, but they still will pass into another great year because they are immortal on that soul level. So it doesn't mean that they're worthy of it, though. Okay. It doesn't mean that they're worthy of their divinity if they don't act in a virtuous way. And they all do eventually realize, once the appointed time is upon us, when they realize who they are, of course, they understand their responsibility and they are very ashamed of their behavior. But right now, they don't know, okay? We've got 288 souls walking around out there, okay, who have no clue to who they actually are. And we have some that may be acting in virtue, and we have some that may be totally indulging in their vices. And then we're going to have some mortals out there who have no clue about the truth, but are just kind-hearted and are out helping people and doing the best they can and, you know, living a virtuous life. And they are even more worthy of their divine portion than the children of God, okay, the Israelites, the Jews, because there's many names for the divine souls, okay, tribes of Israel, the 12 apostles, 12 disciples. But yes, that is what that verse means. 86. Jesus said, foxes have their dens and birds have their nests, but human beings have no place to lay down and rest. So it's really just saying that humans are different to the animals. We were created differently. We are the highest form of God's fragments, God's creation on the physical plane. And so because we are so conscious and we are intelligent and we are created differently in the image of the Creator, we aren't beastly. You know, we aren't like the animals that just work on instinct. Okay, we have to work to find the best of ourselves and to move up out of that lower nature, which is why a lot of the times you'll see the symbolism surrounding the lower nature of mankind is likened to either a dragon, a serpent, the bull, the lion. Okay, so it's not to say that that's a bad thing, okay? It's to say that our higher nature has to control our lower nature. We have to be in command of our lower nature. We don't want our lower nature in control of us, which is what we pretty much see in these times, because the antichrists are totally encouraging this. You know, with sexualizing everything. You know, porn is now completely okay. It used to be just one of those things people went and done, you know, and didn't tell anybody about. It was just, yeah, you know, you go and do it in your own privacy. Now it's like, it's worn like a badge, you know, that you go watch porn, you know. People indulging in gluttony, you know, like people have, you know, literal careers and channels just all around eating food, and food is their, you know, focus of everything. People indulging in vanity, you know, like all of these influencers. Look at the Kardashians. I mean, what do they offer anybody other than just, you know, they're not even very attractive as far as I'm concerned. They're very fake looking. I don't think that is very attractive in a woman when you can see that she's just full of Botox and, you know, fake boobs, you know, fake ass. But this is literally what little girls are now being raised into thinking is something that they want to emulate. All right. So that's when our lower nature is taking control of everything else, and we're not living in our higher nature, because it takes work to be someone who exists and lives within the higher part, the higher nature of yourself in these times. I mean, you're literally going against the grain. You're literally going against everybody, and you're hated. Okay, you're actually told you're a hater. You're told you're a bigot. You know, if you don't accept all of the debauchery and accept all of the immoral behavior, oh, you're a prude. You know, you're a bigot. You're this. You're that. I mean, so it's not easy to live in your higher nature in these times. But again, guys, these are our tests. You know, this is why these times exist. This is part of divine operation right now. You're being tested. And do you really think that discovering your divine nature and, you know, inheriting the kingdom of God, or, you know, moving into the golden age is going to be an easy path? Of course not. It's going to be one of the hardest paths you'll ever take. Your feet are going to be cut open on the rocks. People are going to hate you. You're going to, you know, every turn you're going to be met with roadblocks. You're going to be unsure of yourself. You're going to be questioning yourself. You're going to be, you know, alone. Your family is going to turn on you. I mean, this is literally that verse where it says, you know, unless you hate the mother and the father. I mean, you don't have to literally hate your mother and father. Again, it's a parable. It's just saying that you have to be prepared to walk alone and not even have the love of your family, you know, if you really want to walk in truth. I mean, how many of these Christians, these modern Christians out there, have great relationships with their parents? Okay, because if you've got a great relationship with your parent, that's a good way to know that you're pretty much not on the right path. Because if you've got a Christian parent and you're talking to them about Jesus not being the creator and God and Jesus being the Son of God, well, unless you're a Jehovah's Witness, but any of the other sects, they are all basically calling Jesus the creator now. Jesus is God. So imagine if you were just saying that one thing, that you were like, no, I'm sorry, I'm reading the Bible here and I'm reading the scriptures, and Jesus literally says that he's not the Father, and that you only have one Father and he is in heaven. And why do you call me good? Because only God is good, and there is one mediator, you know, between mankind and God, and that is Christ Jesus, the man. I mean, it keeps telling me that, you know, he's not the creator and that he's not God. So I'm just going to go with what Jesus is saying, because, hey, it even says that no man knows the day or the hour. So if he was the creator, well, he would know that. So again, sorry, Mum, sorry, Dad, the Bible's telling me that Jesus is not the creator, that the creator is the Father, God the Father, and Jesus is his Son. So that is what I'm going to follow. I mean, how many of them would be saying that? No, not many at all. As I said, the road to life is narrow and few there be that find it, and the road to destruction is wide and many enter into it. And that's what's happening now, because, I mean, I'm pretty sure we've got billions of modern Christians right now all repeating the Catholic canon when it comes to interpreting the Bible that the Catholic Church put together. And they somehow think that they're on the narrow path of the few? Huh? Okay, yeah, doesn't really make sense to me, but anyway, they seem to know everything. Right. Jesus said, how miserable is the body that depends on the body, and how miserable is the soul that depends on those two. So, or on these two. So this is really about the body that is caught in physicality and can never be happy. And so their body is pretty much a prisoner of their, you know, the body has become the prison for their soul. Okay. And so how miserable are most of these people right now in the world in its state? I mean, everyone's pretty well miserable with the way things are, and especially now everything's getting so expensive and interest rates are going up, and, all of these horrible wars that we're seeing, and, it's just not a very good time right now for humanity. And so if you believe that this is the full extent of who you are, and this is the world and the full extent of the material world, then you would be miserable, wouldn't you? But if you know it's just a part of the cycle that we exist in, and it's just an extension of the spiritual, and that you are just a soul traversing the material world at the moment in this time, and that this too shall pass, then you aren't miserable. I mean, you're probably not very happy all the time, because it is hard being a conscious human and a soul in these times. But you definitely know that this isn't the full extent of who you are and of what the world is always going to be. So you know that things have to get dark before they get better, but you definitely know that this too shall pass. I mean, everything is transitional in the material. So that's what that one means. See, people don't know that they are a soul. Okay. People don't know that. Even Christians don't talk about their soul. How many of these pastors and these Pharisees are talking about the soul? They're not. None of them talk about the soul. None of them talk about the spiritual. All they do is they encourage their flock to worship Jesus, to praise Jesus, to be so grateful for Jesus. It's all about Jesus. I mean, this is all they do. And they tell them to take the Bible literally as well, going against what Jesus says. All right. 88. Jesus said, the messengers and the prophets will come to you and give you what belongs to you. You in turn give them what you have and say to yourselves, when will they come and take what belongs to them? So basically that's just saying the messengers will return and they will relay truth to the people, but the people will not recognize the messengers, because the people are waiting for something that they've been told by the Pharisees to expect. And the Pharisees are the ones that are giving them the knowledge, and the knowledge is misinformation. So even though that there are people out there who have investigated this knowledge and are trying to relay this knowledge to others, they will not be identified as people possessing truth, because they do not have the appearance of the clergy or a good Christian who doesn't swear and who says all nice things all the time and who walks around praising Jesus and worshiping Jesus and singing songs and going to church every Sunday. So if they don't resemble that and engage in those behaviors, then they won't recognize that these people may actually be in possession of truths, and they will be ignored. 89. Jesus said, why do you wash the outside of the cup? Don't you understand that the one who made the inside is also the one who made the outside? So again, that's a parable, that's a symbol that you are the cup, okay? And so why are you so concerned with the outside appearance? Looking like a good Christian, looking godly, looking like a New Ager. I mean, New Agers are just so good at this whole fake persona that they push, you know, with the namaste and always loving and love and light, and they wear the, you know, the hippie clothes, and, you know, they have all the, you know, chakra tattoos, and they wear the, you know, the clothes that kind of give that appearance of them being spiritual, right? And then you've got the Christians, you know, and they all, you know, give the appearance of being Christian. As I said, they wear their, you know, crucifix around their neck, and they go to church every Sunday. But do they actually care about what's inside? I mean, how many of these followers of Christ, right, are out there like the Good Samaritan? So we've got 332 million American Christians, right? So if even 1% of these 332 million Christians in America were out among the poor and the homeless and the destitute right now, being the Good Samaritan like Jesus taught, that would be 332,000 Christians out there giving food, giving water, giving blankets to the homeless, to the poor, to the destitute. So where are they? You know, this is what I'm saying, that these people have no clue what it takes to be a follower of Christ. They just think they can walk around, or they don't even walk around saying that they love Jesus. They don't even have the courage to do that. They just type it, okay, on social media. They just hide behind their computer and they type, God bless you, Jesus is Lord. I mean, it's pathetic. So they don't even care if the inside is basically in Christ, and they're engaging in Christ-like behavior from within, okay, and virtuous behavior from within, because they only care what they look like from the outside. And most people only care what anybody looks like from the outside. Okay. So we've got to stop just relying on appearances and go deeper. Okay, Jesus said, come to me. Oh, and that's the other thing too with this last one, 89. It's what's inside. So even when someone is relaying wisdom and knowledge, it's like literally what the last verse was saying about the messengers. They won't be recognized because they don't appear to be what the people are expecting. And the Pharisees are the ones that look like they are the ones with the truth and the knowledge. This is also about the cup, you know, of like what's inside the cup, and what's pouring out of, what's coming out of the cup is what's important, not the appearance of the cup. So, you know, that's just another different, you know, or complementary explanation of that parable as well. So it's all about what's inside, guys. It's not appearances. We've got to move away from the whole appearances, because that is where people fall down. That is where people get ensnared in the trap that the antichrists have laid out for them. Because that's why these churches are also, you know, especially, you know, back around the time when the church was becoming very powerful, and they were building all of these huge cathedrals and encouraging the people from the village to come and, you know, go and worship in these cathedrals, whereas before people may have just gathered in someone's house every, you know, one day a week. It doesn't even matter what day. It's just, you know, the Sabbath is just one day a week where you actually give reverence to the Creator for everything that He has gifted you. And they could have just been doing this, you know, maybe at someone's house, or maybe there was just some area in a garden. And then what happened was the Pharisees came and built these huge, big, very impressive cathedrals and encouraged the people to come to these cathedrals because that's where God is. Because, of course, why wouldn't God be in this huge, big cathedral that looks very impressive, you know? And people were gullible, and they, you know, not all of them wanted to go and worship in these cathedrals. And so what they did was build these churches in every village, and then they instructed everybody to come to these churches, and then they would know who didn't go. And then those people would be ostracized, called heretics, probably murdered, burned at the stake. You know how the story goes, guys. I mean, that's literally what the Catholic Church did, okay? Jesus said, "Come to me, for my yoke is comfortable and my lordship is gentle, and you will find rest for yourselves." So basically, when you find the Christ within, it will bring you to peace and not fear. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hi, Matt. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Ozzy. Nice to see you. 91. They said to him, "Tell us who you are so that we may believe in you." And again, and then, hang on. Okay, let's start again. They said to him, "Tell us who you are so that we may believe in you." And he said to them, "You examine the face of heaven and earth, but you have not come to know the one who is in your presence, and you do not know how to examine the present moment." So that's just really adding into what I was saying before, that we don't know who the Christed are. We don't know who the Christ, Jesus, is, because it is not the appointed time where these things are revealed to us. And we do not know the times that we are existing in as we move towards the apocalypse. Because, well, none of the Pharisees are teaching their congregation about Revelation. I mean, that's really what every single church should be discussing right now, isn't it? I mean, we are living in the times of Revelation right now. So why isn't every single priest and pastor and father, whatever you want to call them, why aren't they instructing their congregation and their flock and preparing them for the apocalypse? None of them are doing it. I mean, I can't find any on YouTube. I mean, all of these YouTube preachers like Cross-Examined, none of them do any videos in regards to Revelation, in regards to the apocalypse, in regards to the time that we're now living in. So this is why most of the congregation are oblivious to the time that we're in, even though I could tell you a large majority of modern Christians know that we are living in very dark times and we are living Revelation. They still don't seem too concerned that their pastor isn't talking to them about this. This is how they just continue to justify their attendance at these, places of organized religion. I don't know. I mean, you'd think that they would start questioning why their clergy don't talk about Revelation, why don't their clergy talk about Last Judgment? None of them ever talk about Last Judgment. Okay? The only time that the clergy ever talk about Last Judgment is lying to their flock, telling them that they are going to be raptured before the bad shit happens. So again, they're literally being lied to, because you know why? Nobody wants to hear that stuff. Nobody wants to hear about Last Judgment and the parable of the wheat and the tares. Nobody wants to know that. They don't want to think that they have to be accountable. They want to think they can just go around worshiping and praising Jesus, okay, and they're just going to be raptured away, or they're just going to go to heaven, just because Jesus is going to return and he's going to take them up to heaven with him. That's it. No accountability Jesus loves everybody because, hey, didn't Jesus forgive the thief on the cross with him? Because at the last minute, he said that he believed in Jesus and he believed in the Christ and he accepted him as the Son of God. Well, guess what? He was in the presence of Jesus at that time as well. So, big difference to what's happening now when people don't even know who the Christ are, or who the Christ is, as well as are, because as I've said, there are Christed. And they don't even know that. I mean, they don't even know believe in reincarnation. Or it's not even about believing in reincarnation. Reincarnation is a fact. Reincarnation is the truth. But they don't actually believe in reincarnation because, well, they're clergy. Their clergy tell them you either die and you go to hell forever or heaven forever. So, yeah. Sorry, guys, let me just have a drink. Okay. Jesus said, seek and you will find. Seek and you will find. In the past, however, I did not tell you these things about which you asked then. Now I'm willing to tell them, but you are not seeking them. So again, this is just another parable in regards to there's a season for silence, there's a season for speech, there is a time that this knowledge is occulted and that there's a time where this knowledge is revealed to everybody and relayed, and we're in the time now where this is being relayed because, well, evil has its grasp on the world and things aren't getting any better. And so if we don't actually start to identify exactly what's going on and we don't identify the truth, then we are just going to continue down that wide path to destruction, completely oblivious. So, in a time where we've got the Pharisees in full control of all of the knowledge and they're not giving anybody the knowledge at all, and all they're doing is just giving out disinformation and misinformation and lies and corruption, and, there's no way for people to actually go and discover a lot of this knowledge now without others guiding them along the path. I mean, especially now, because at least back in 2012, we had access to a lot more knowledge than we do now. I mean, everything's so censored. You just have to try and do a Google search about certain things and you won't find the results, or it'll just bring up a whole heap of other stuff that you don't even want. So, yeah, these are the times where we have to buckle down and basically research while we still have access to this knowledge, because there's going to be a time where that is taken away from us too. Okay, we still have access to a lot of these ancient texts. I've got a lot of links to the resources where I can, access this ancient knowledge in its purest form. Okay, I don't want to go read any book from no New Ager or somebody telling me what it means. And I've always said to anyone listening to me as well that nobody should just believe me and listen to what I'm saying and then just turn off the video and don't think any more about it, because it just will stay a belief. Okay, to make it knowledge and wisdom, you have to actually go and seek this out for yourself. It takes work, takes years, so you don't have any time to waste. And so I would actually go and download and get all of this information and this knowledge now, because there will be a time where they take down the internet and when it comes back up, there's not going to be any of this knowledge anymore. Okay, and we're all going to have internet ID as well, and they're going to know exactly what we're looking at, exactly what we're saying online. Everything is going to be under surveillance. So those times are coming and they're getting nearer all the time. Right. Don't give what is holy to dogs, for they might throw them upon the manure pile. Don't throw pearls to pigs, or they might. And then, like, it's showing you that there's some fragments missing, but we get the idea. Don't give this information to people that aren't going to understand it because they're just not worthy of it. And I'm talking about like atheists, people that are just worship Elon Musk, okay, people that worship Star Trek, people that worship sci-fi. They're all very attached to the material world because that's their reality now, that we're a space age race and we're going to go colonize Mars. And so if you dare try to speak to them about any of this knowledge, this truth, they, one, can't process it because their brain just will not allow them to, because they've set their reality to what they want it to be. And so they are just going to react very negatively to you. And two, they're just not worthy of it. Now, I'm not saying that if you do enjoy watching Star Trek or, sci-fi, that you can't understand this knowledge. That's not what I'm saying. I don't mind sci-fi, when I'm watching, movies and stuff like that. Bit of sci-fi is all right. Never had a problem with a bit of sci-fi. But it's saying that, there are people that literally think that sci-fi is real, okay? There are people that exist today. I know. It's ridiculous. It's laughable. But they literally do believe that we're going to colonize Mars. They literally do believe that Elon Musk is a genius. They really do think that one day we are going to resemble Star Trek and we're going to go out on the new frontier and we're going to discover all these worlds. They really do believe that. That's reality to them. So, I'm just giving you like examples of the type of people that there's no use you even trying. And I mean, I'm sure you know people like that. We all know people like that, don't we? Okay. And all I'm saying is that it's just going to disappoint you when you are on the, receiving end of their negativity and their reaction to you trying to give them this knowledge. And they're just not worthy of it anyway, because they don't find value in understanding their divine nature or their creator. So let them be. Just leave them on the wide path. As I've said, when I am actually in discussion with people now, I do it online and I go to videos by big Christian channels like Cross Examined, and I will debate with modern Christians, and I will relay the truth, and then when they try to oppose me, normally they do it quite aggressively. I will just rely on the knowledge itself to defend itself, because it's easy. It's very easy to allow the knowledge to defend itself because it's written in black and white. I mean, the Catholic Church have edited the scriptures quite a bit, but they've done it in a way that they can use it as a weapon and to weaponize it against anybody that would not accept their doctrine. But there's still enough in here where you can show and use this to basically oppose or show the hypocrisy of these modern Christians. Okay, there's plenty of verses in which you can do that. Plenty of verses in which Jesus is saying that he's not the creator and that you have one Father and he's in heaven, and even the one where he says where the devil's trying to tempt him and he says, get behind me. There is one Lord and to worship. I mean, there's so many different verses where Jesus is saying that he's not the Father. Okay. So many different verses where Jesus is telling us that we have to emulate him. I mean, the Good Samaritan is one, and there's others where he uses the apostles, and he tells the apostles to go out amongst the people, and the apostles are telling us that we need to be Christ-like, we need to imitate Christ and emulate Christ. There's plenty of verses where, Jesus is telling us that the Bible is occulted, that the parables are all just stories. They are parables that encode the truth, okay, for the worthy, for those that with eyes that perceive and ears that understand. Okay, so you can rely on the Bible a lot to school these modern Christians who have allowed the Pharisees to brainwash them, okay, and then they're brainwashing other people. So it's not the most vocal Christians, modern Christians, that I'm trying to turn, because I won't turn them, okay. They are set on their path. They are not going to turn from the wide path. Okay, they will follow the Pharisees down to the abyss, all right? It's not them who I will reach, or I'm not even trying to reach them. I just use them as a tool to basically give information and knowledge to others who are scrolling in the background, who do have questions, who do basically have this spiritual understanding of themselves, but aren't really convinced that the Pharisees have got all the answers, because there's just so many different contradictions in the Bible that the Pharisees just can't give a good response to. I see it all the time with Frank from Cross-Examined. I mean, he literally will talk about something completely different than the question asked. Or he'll just go and say something completely off tangent to what the question, it's laughable. It really is laughable. But anyway. Okay. 94. Jesus said, "One who seeks will find, for one who knocks it will be opened." Again, if you have a pure heart, you will find the truth. If you have pure motivation, that's what a pure heart means. It doesn't mean that you're, someone who has never done anything wrong in your whole life, that you don't have any character flaws at all, that you're always just a 100%, perfect human being. That's not what having a pure heart means, okay? Having a pure heart or a pure intention just means that you want to know truth for no other reason than you just want to know the truth. You don't want to use it to make money. You don't want to do it for clout. You don't want to do it because, you want to impress people. You just want to know. You just want to know. That's all that's required. And then you just need to seek it out and just keep seeking and don't give up. Just keep seeking and you will find it. 95. Jesus said, "If you have money, don't lend it at interest. Rather, give it to someone from whom you won't get it back." Now, I bet you that you could even change money for treasure. So Jesus said, if you have treasure, don't lend it at interest. Rather, give it to somebody from who you won't give it back. Because it kind of corresponds to the other verse that I just read about seeking and finding. And it's all about giving without expectation of getting it back, of a return. Giving something just for the sake of helping others, for uplifting others. That's what it means. And so that's literally what you can do to emulate Christ. You can emulate Christ in the way that he went out among the poor and he gave them food and he gave them, water, and he ministered to them. And so we see modern Christians going out among people and ministering, and all they're doing is giving false information because they're literally telling everybody that Jesus is God the Father. Okay, so they are lost, and then they are actually leading people down the wide path with them, and they will be judged on that as well. Okay, ignorance is no excuse. Okay, because there's no need to be ignorant. They're ignorant because they're weak and lack courage. Okay, that's it. And I'm sorry, the universe doesn't reward cowardice, and the universe doesn't reward weakness. God wants to see strength. Okay, God wants to see our mettle. All right, and wants to determine whether we're worthy of life. You know, of going through into the next great year with the Christed. And we do that by seeking out knowledge. And so we can either, not everyone has the same gifts. Okay, some people have a gift for philosophy and intellect. Okay, and some people have a gift of helping others, and their actions are, kindness and to give in that way, to give back and to emulate Christ in that way. So, if you are someone who is an intellectual and who understands this knowledge and is gifted with that intellect to understand this philosophy and to understand these teachings of Christ at this level, then this is a way that we can align ourselves with the path of Christ by seeking out this knowledge and seeking out an understanding for ourselves by using the intellectual path. However, once we understand this knowledge, we cannot hide our light under a bushel. Okay, we have to hold that light for others as well and pay it forward, basically. So that's what's required of us as well. And well, really, again, it comes from that part of yourself which just should want to help others, help to enlighten others. As I said, it's no good throwing pearls to dogs, okay, and pigs, but help where you can. If you have a way of relaying this knowledge, then help others where you can. And it could be that you want to start a YouTube channel and you want to do what I'm doing and live stream and decode information, or you just want to make some videos and upload them. You can even upload my videos onto your own channel. That's okay too. Not everybody has the confidence to speak on a video. Sometimes that's why it's good to actually create movie maker videos and put out information that way. Or you could just actually go on to Christian channels and you could correct all of this disinformation and misinformation that's been relayed about the Christ and the Christed, and you can help enlighten people in that way. But really, it is a responsibility that we do have when we are gifted an intellect. And yes, you will probably meet with conflict from others, but hey, it's, that's the sacrifices we make. It's not meant to be easy. And, there is a verse in the Bible that says, what can a mere mortal do to me? When God the Father can destroy my soul, why am I worried about a mere mortal? And that's the type of, attitude that you should have. Just like, so what? Who cares if these people say mean things to you? It's not going to hurt you at the end of the day. And you've got the truth anyway, which, as I said, truth pretty much defends itself. You just have to put the truth out there to others and let it defend itself. As I said, it's all in the text anyway. It's all in the scriptures. So you're just really using the truth to defend itself. But nobody else is doing that. So, there's only a few people. I actually found somebody who was doing this, and I don't think it was anybody that is one of the listeners of my live stream or subscribed to my channel, and he was literally schooling this Christian with all these verses and basically like saying that Jesus was not God the Father. And I was so impressed because it was like, wow, I rarely ever see that. you know, but somebody else, wanted to give him a round of applause, because sometimes it feels a little bit lonely out there when you're the only one. But, I'm sure there are others, and I just don't see every single comment either, So, anyway, let's move on. What's the time? Okay, I've got 10 more minutes. I want to finish 7:30 p.m. my time here right now. And then that will, pretty much go almost into 2 hours. So, and then I think we'll only have one more video. Yeah, we will, because we're up to, I'll only have one short video. So I might even have time to finish with a rant. But anyway, we'll finish to the end of this page at least. And that should be the last 10 minutes. Okay. Oh, no, we're not going to finish to the end, because I'm only halfway through this page. So... all right. Jesus said, the Father's kingdom is like a woman. She took a little leaven, so that's like yeast, put it in the dough, and it made it into large loaves of bread. Anyone here with 2 ears better listen. It is a parable. Again, symbolism. So, Jesus said, the Father's kingdom is like a woman took a little leaven. So the Father's kingdom within us, the divine nature is within us, okay, hidden within us, and it basically will ferment and bring itself to the surface at the appointed time. Again, it's talking about the divine nature within humanity, the divine nature within the divine souls as well. Because, even those who are mortal but are virtuous will display that at the appointed time as well. And there will be mortals who are created closer to the divine souls, and others who are created further from the divine soul, as well, because it's all in degrees. So there are souls that are mortal, that are very old souls, that may have been around since the beginning of this great year, 26,000 years ago, or they could have actually, been from the last great year, and they made it through, and they're in this great year now, and they may make it through again. I mean, it's going to be represented in each soul. All of our virtues and our characteristics and our degree of divinity within us as well. So that's what that one means. It just means that the divinity is like the leaven within bread, hidden in the dough, and it rises to the surface at the right time. Okay, at the appointed time, at the divine time. And it's taken a bloody long time, let me say. They say that patience is a virtue. Well, I can tell you it's not one of my virtues, because I am over it, guys. I don't know about you, but I am over it. Okay. All right. Jesus said, the Father's kingdom is like a woman who is carrying a jar full of meal. When she was walking along a distant road, the handle of the jar broke and the meal spilled behind her along the road. She didn't know it. She hadn't noticed a problem. When she reached her house, she put the jar down and discovered it was empty. So again, this can be a couple of things. So it's basically talking about, again, the divine nature within the divine soul as we come down the great year and the portion fades. This is unbeknownst to them at the time where their vessel is empty. So it's not really empty, it's just that the light within them, the divine nature within them, has faded completely, and they are oblivious to who they are. And so that is one meaning behind that parable, that the divine nature within us slowly dissipates over ages until we forget who we are completely. The other thing too is that our goodness within us, over the year, over each lifetime as well, unless we make a concerted effort to stay on course and not transgress the divine laws, it can be easy to, it says like when the handle breaks and it spills. So when we are met with challenges, it can be easy to fall into vice rather than just stay the course and not transgress. So, like, we have it probably a little harder in these times because God has been completely removed from society now, and really anybody that believes in a creator or who is a spiritual person is ridiculed, because it's all about science and it's all about materialism and, gluttony and indulging in all of our vices. And of course, anybody who is a moral person and spiritual and believes in God, they are seen to oppose immoral behavior. And so it's easy to fall into vice in these times, whereas back in, say, 200 years ago, when God was still very much present within the physical, not the physical plane, but present within society, there was fear in transgressing the law, divine law. I mean, even if we were misguided and we believed that Jesus was God because that was what the Pharisees were telling us, it was still, there was this fear of going to hell that was still very much pushed by the Pharisees onto the flock, and everyone went to pretty much everyone went to church. So so you would not really transgress because that fear was instilled in you. So we do have it a lot harder now. The jar is broken. The contents now are, no longer contained in virtue, and we have to make an effort to not be empty vessels, okay? Because really that's what we're surrounded by right now in these times. Empty vessels. You can see them everywhere. You can see it in their eyes. They look at you and there's nothing behind there. They're empty. A lot of people, you couldn't even speak to them about this knowledge because they just have no way to process it. They can't process it. They're not capable of it. They don't have the intellectual ability to process this knowledge. I was talking to an Aboriginal man yesterday. He was an elder. I've been given an opportunity to go and see a place around where I live, which is kind of secret. And so there's a guy that I know, an old fella, who knows this Aboriginal elder. And so they've invited me to come and have a look at this place and this secret place. And so I was speaking to this elder, and I said to him, I want to have a chat with you about your history, your stories. And he started wanting to tell me stories about the slaughter that happened here. Oh, yes, I can tell you stories about the slaughter that happened here. And I said to him, yeah, I'm not interested about that. I want to go. I didn't say it that way. I was like, yeah. But I'm actually interested in your Dreamtime stories, your stories before then. I'm interested in hearing your spiritual stories. What do you believe spiritually? What do your people believe spiritually? I want to hear about those stories. And he kind of looked at me really vacantly, and I thought, I'm going to be disappointed here. Here I am just assuming that all Aboriginal elders just have these stories, and I don't know whether he said, well, there are people that have these stories. So he may not be one of them, but he may be, because I've been wanting this opportunity, and I may have to go out to one of their reserves, I think it's called out here, their communities they call them. I may have to go out to their communities, but I want to hear their stories, okay? But yeah, I assume that because he was an elder and he was Aboriginal, that he just would know what I was talking about, and he would automatically just, spark up, but he didn't. It just kind of surprised me, and I was a little bit disappointed because, yeah, he just gave me this vacant look of like he didn't really, like he wanted to get political, right? And I'm not interested in the whole political thing. Like I couldn't give a crap about the politics right now, and it's very divisive here in Australia at the moment, just like you guys over in the US. With BLM, we've got our own version. It's called The Voice, and they're trying to get this separate constitutional amendment where the Aboriginals get their own say in things, and it's very divisive, and there is a lot of division happening between people. And so I could see that he wanted to get into that, and it was like, no, 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 no. I want the Dreamtime story. I want the spiritual. And so, yeah. So people are empty, guys, and even the elders are empty because they haven't gone and stayed the course either. And now I'm not saying they all are, but I'm saying that society as we are now, we are surrounded by a lot of empty vessels. So don't be the empty vessel. Fill yourself with knowledge. Fill yourself with understanding. Understand who you are as a divine fragment of the Creator. You know, have that understanding of your place in the universe, of your place in His design, because you do have a place. You were created by God. Okay. You are here for a reason right now. We are all here for a reason right now at this time in humanity's cycle of existence. And you are listening to this knowledge right now for a reason too. So you can either just turn off this video and just say, well, she's full of heaps of shit, don't want to listen to her anymore. Or you can say, you know what? There was something that she said that really struck me. I'm going to go look at this further. I'm going to go investigate this a little bit more. And it takes courage, especially if you're someone that was brought up in a very religious household. You have been brainwashed from birth by your parents, and your parents have been brainwashed by their parents, and so it's ingrained in you that if you look outside of the Bible, that you're going to hell. So you need a lot of courage to move beyond that brainwashing. But if that is you and you are listening to this video right now, there is a reason that you found the video and that you're listening to it. Because something in you is telling you that what your pastor is telling you isn't sitting right with you. There's something more. There's something missing. And, you know, of course, organized religion, the Pharisees, are not going to tell us about our divine portion because they don't want us empowered. It's just like the same reason they're not talking about Revelation and they're not talking about Last Judgment. They don't want us empowered. They don't want us knowing who we are. So we have to take that God-gifted intellect that we have, and we have to use it to find our path back to ourselves, find our path back to our Creator, because it's there. And as Jesus says in these verses, seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be answered. It's just about that pure intention of wanting to know the truth, wanting to know the truth about who you are, the truth about universal design, existence, and our Creator. So just let that be your guiding light. And as I said, everything else will just be added. You know, like you will literally see the guideposts. They will be presented to you. You just have to have that intention and take that first step. And from there, the guideposts will show up, and you just have to be able to perceive them for what they are, because sometimes they're very subtle, and keep following them, and you will find your knowledge. You may not find it in the same way that I did. You know, I can just give you guys the pieces of the puzzle how I found them, but you may find them differently. You may put it together differently, and that's okay. But there is only one truth. There's not multiple truths, okay? That's a new age, you know, bullshit once again. Oh, everyone has their own truth. No. Everyone has their own perception of truth, but there is only one truth. So seek it out, guys. All right, well, I'm going to leave it here for now. Let me get my pen, and I'm going to circle where I'm up to, which was right, 98. We're up to 98. So let's get 98 done in the next video, and that will be it then, guys. We've finished the decoding of the Gospel of Thomas, and I had no clue it was going to take me 7, 8 videos. It's going to take me 8 videos to do this. I had no clue that that's how long it would take. So I'll get that in, you know, uploaded. I'll do that live stream in the next few weeks. I've got a little bit more information I wanted to bring to you guys about Betelgeuse and the Greater Bear constellation and how that ties into the Hopi prophecy and Johann Friede's prophecy. So I've some more connections, some more confirmations. Pretty exciting stuff there. And yeah, so I'll hopefully get that uploaded to you guys, or you know, a live stream soon as well. So as always, just look out for my live streams, because they are impromptu, but it's the best way that I can do them. And as I said, if you do miss them, you can always just watch it as a video later. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, well, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for joining me, guys. It was great to see you. Have a great week. And as always, peace out.